Welcome to Mikam Israel. Sometimes the most powerful words are the words we never say. This week in Parashat Vaetchanan, we meet Moshe Rabbeinu at one of the most personal moments of his life. He doesn't lead, he doesn't command, he pleads. Vaetchanan el Hashem. And Borei Olam answers him with silence. But in that very silence, there's a message. Not everything holy comes with noise, and not every form of greatness is loud. Sometimes the holiest things happen in the quiet. Later in the parasha, we read a pasuk that seems almost upside down. Lo mirovchem mikol ha'amim chashek Hashem. And Borei Olam didn't choose us because we were many. He chose us because we were few. Not because we were powerful, but because we were humble. And not because we made noise, but because we made space. The Sfat Emes explains, the greatness of Am Yisrael is not in our size, but in our bitul. We rise, but we don't boast. We shine, but we don't blind. We climb, but we never forget how to bow. When the nations of the world grow stronger, they grow louder. But when we grow stronger, we grow quieter. That's not weakness, that's anava. That's what it means to be chosen. Not for our volume, but for our values. And that entire message is captured in a story by the holy Bluzhev Rebbe once shared, a story about a man whose silence shook Shamayim. The Bluzhev Rebbe Zatzal, Rabbi Yisrael Spira, was no ordinary leader. He walked through the Gehinnom of Bergen-Belsen and came out with his faith unburned. He saw horror and responded with holiness. He lost everything and rebuilt souls. And when he spoke, he didn't just tell stories. He opened portals into the eternity. It was Shabbat afternoon in Brooklyn. The Rebbe sat at his tish, surrounded by his Hasidim, and the Zemirot lingered around the candlelight. And then the Rebbe smiled and said softly in Yiddish, Es ist umgelungen. He made it. He succeeded. The room went quiet. One of the Hasidim leaned forward and confused. He said, Rebbe, who made it? The Rebbe whispered a name, a Jew who had just passed away days earlier. Not a Rav, not a Posek, not a leader, just a quiet man with a secret vow. Years earlier, this man had come to the Rebbe with a Kabbalah. Rebbe, I've taken something on. From the moment I put on my talit each morning, I'm not going to say a single unnecessary word, not a hello, not a comment, only tefillah. Yonah Chaim ben Shimona for you. Nothing else until the talit comes off. The Rebbe asked him why. And the man said, I've been thinking, one day I'm going to be standing before the Bedin Shel Ma'alah, and they'll ask me, Kavata itim la Torah, nasata venatata be'emunah, tzipita liyoshua. Maybe I won't have perfect answers. Maybe I won't even be able to speak, but I'll be wearing my talet, and I'll point to it and whisper, no, no, because under this talet, I never said a word that wasn't holy. He lived that way for decades, not fanfare, and no stage, and no spotlight. Just one sacred silence, day after day, year after year. And when he finally stood before the heavenly court, he didn't need to speak. He simply lifted up his talet, and Shamayim understood. Es ist umgelungen. He made it. He succeeded. Ladies and gentlemen, Borei Olam didn't choose Am Yisrael because we were many. He chose us because we were willing to be few. True greatness doesn't shout. It doesn't have to be seen. It wraps itself in Kedusha and then it disappears. One Jew, one quiet promise. A promise he made while standing in a world that didn't make it easy. Everyone around him spoke. The men in Knis, the women in Shul. It wasn't quiet. And still, he was. He stood there day after day, year after year with conversations all around him. And still he held the line. No shortcuts, no exceptions, just one vow he refused to break. And in that very silence, he built a life, wordless, sacred, and unshakable. So when the world tells you to be louder, bolder, and more visible, remember who you are. We're not a people of noise. We're a people of depth, of strength, of sacred smallness that shakes the heavens. Granted, it's hard to speak less. It takes strength. It takes discipline. Conviction, but more often than not, the neshama that says the least leaves the loudest echo in eternity. Mika Amcha Yisrael, Shabbat Shalom Mivorach.